COT's base of operations is right here at thecounciloftime.com. COT has no other outlet or venue. These are other folks who will rebroadcast, like DailyExcellence, who is authorized to rebroadcast by way of video.
Joining us right now from somewhere around the world, it's Mike from around the world. Mike, how are you tonight?
Pastor Paul, God bless you. Doing okay today?
Doing okay. It's pretty busy, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's falling apart.
It's falling apart, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally falling apart.
All right, Mike. Let's start with Assad. Is Assad in Moscow? Or is that a false report?
He was en route. The deal with whether he's alive or not would be for the protection of certain operations happening in Syria right now, still happening. It's the USA and Israel had to get things moving along, right?
Right.
And so shouldn't be a surprise. Given the agenda that's on the table, they would move forward with quite a few things. They just opened up a vacuum in Syria, though.
Right.
Because now we have these, I know it seems eloquent to a degree to say that these rebels have gotten rid of a boogeyman, right? But the fact is, most of the individuals that were fighting in Syria were, of course, ISIS members, Al-Qaeda members, proxy terrorist groups have assembled themselves under the guise of rebels, right, in Syria to get rid of Assad. So what better way to get a bunch of these groups together and to put them right in Syria, right at the back door of Israel.
Yes.
But these are not, we're not talking about freedom fighters for the sake of humanity. We're talking about an evolving Sunni Shia war that's going to take place. Some very real wartime issues are coming forward. And it looks like through the assemblage of these folks there, it's really about to begin and go to a brand new level. So,
Mike, let's start with Erdogan, which he was behind this whole rebel movement to take Assad out. He's always wanted that. He's part of this, isn't he? I mean, or is he just trying to claim credit?
No. He is part of it. Yes. Notice how this guy, no matter what he does, right, he's always in good standing with the USA, despite his rhetoric, despite some of his actions. He's always in good standing with the USA, regardless of what he does.
I know.
So, and it also happens to be, Turkey happens to be a place of great importance for our military or NATO, period. So they can't afford to lose Turkey in any way. So Erdogan, he's going to continue to do, what he does. He'll be propped up and helped in many different occasions because he is an important ally, so long as he stays like that. But one of the issues we're about to face is an absolute and total change of loyalties in the Middle East. The uprisings, they have begun. It was just a week ago we talked about, I was telling you about that Sunni and Shia uprising.
Yes, you did.
People are dying every day. It's starting to broaden itself. It's getting wider. It will eventually touch every single land. And so that's a real problem. Once they're fighting for who's going to be positioned in these times that we live in.
So we have these what they call Syrian rebels, but I mean you just can't use the term Syrian rebels. There's a bunch of different groups, right? I mean, and some of them are Sunni, some of them are Shiite, some of them are just ISIS is out there. I understand. We have a report here, Mike, that says United States launched dozens of airstrikes today on ISIS, 75 different airstrikes on ISIS today. Yep. I thought ISIS was gone. I mean, what's going on there?
Nope. What the story is unfolding, first of all, people in the USA, they receive rhetoric, stories, sometimes made up stories. This overthrow in Syria is not something that happened, just it didn't start, a week ago. It's been ongoing for a long time. NATO has had operatives in Syria for some time, right? And what they were doing was they were negotiating things to get the oil and to transport that oil to Iraq. Ding, 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 as their safekeeping of the oil, to get it all to Iraq. Now, when they moved fairly large set of shipments out, this happens, right? So what they're doing is they're resettling the Middle East piece by piece. This is a NATO operation, NATO's plan, but as it always does, it will backfire, right? Because you don't utilize ISIS and Al Qaeda and all these different terrorist organizations under the guise of rebels. You tell the world they're rebels fighting this strong boogeyman in the Middle East, Bashar al-Assad. He, and then tell everybody, what he had and what he was willing to do. They have a plan, and that plan is not going to work so well because Sunni and Shia Muslims, though they have different ideologies regarding Muhammad, regarding the bloodline of Muhammad, and who's in control of what, they will assemble themselves as family against Western ideologies. We're soon to see that. This was the first step. Now, being ignorant to the whole thing, NATO allowed these guys, even utilize them, right, as part of a plan. But here's what's going to happen. And they've been told they're not listening. These guys, now that they have done this, now that they have assembled with all these different groups, they will continue to build up their ranks. There will be large scale repercussions from this. Large scale.
Okay. Who will be? Okay. First of all, is America going to try to put a puppet government in? Is Russia going to try to put a puppet government in? Is Turkey going to try to put a puppet government in? And will Iran?
That's a NATO.
And will Iran?
That's a NATO thing.
What about Iran? Are they going to try to get?
That's a NATO thing.
So
and
the reason why
I keep going back to NATO, right, is because NATO pulled the trigger. Remember something: NATO is the one who allows Erdogan to move forward or not. Right? He has to get approval from NATO. Why is that? Because he's got all those assets and operational assets in his country from NATO, from the USA. Right? We have bases still there. We have training going on. There's a lot of soldiers that were in Syria. Right? U.S. soldiers in Syria.
Yes.
So we have a lot of service personnel out there. He's not making decisions by himself. He's making decisions in cooperation with NATO, which, by the way, is not going to make a decision without the USA. And so we see an attempt to begin to redraw the Middle East. All of it's going to boil down to redesign of what nations are where in the Middle East. They're going to give every people a nation in the Middle East. But here's a problem. Both Sunni and Shia are onto it. They're already onto it. They're very good at playing dumb. We have utilized them, right? Knowing who they are, giving them incentives to go and get Bashar al-Assad. But now that they have accomplished this, by the way, and it was too quick. How long have they been fighting?
Forever. I mean, 14. Actually, it was 2011. When Obama and Hillary Clinton said they destabilized the Middle East. Remember, they got rid of the leaders of Tunisia and then Egypt and then Libya and Yemen, and then it went to Syria, and then the thing went crazy, and Russia jumped in and said, "Whoa, what? Just hold it a minute. That you're not taking Assad out." And then there's been 13 years this has gone on, and then in 3 days it's over.
There you go. So this was a huge move, is what I'm trying to get everybody to see. They've been fighting for so long with the same amount of fighters and elements and groups, yet they have made no leeway. Right? Now, something took place.
Yes.
Something took place. NATO, or the Western world, gave the green light. and all of a sudden they have an absolute success rate, a success in doing this after all those years saying it cannot be done, that Assad has too many chemical weapons and too many, vicious weapons will use. Nobody can do that. But all of a sudden, overnight, they do it.
Let me ask you.
They do it overnight.
Okay, because this happened overnight. And the only thing that's changed in the world was Trump got elected. I'm not saying that Trump ordered this. I don't know. Was this Biden and NATO saying we better do this now before he gets in?
It's not good. It's not a good move. This is a horrible move, is what this is. And it's going to, ultimately it's going to cost Israel.
That's why I'm thinking. So I'm thinking, that's why I'm thinking, I don't think Trump was behind this. He's not in.
No.
This was Biden and NATO group saying we got to go do this now before he gets in. And this destabilizes the Middle East totally more, and it makes Israel more vulnerable. I mean, as I'm talking to you, Mike, there is troops, as you know, there's troops that the Mujahideen moved right up on the Golan Heights. Israel has moved thousands of troops and tanks up onto the Golan Heights. They haven't done this since 1974. They've never been in the buffer zone since 1974, but they're there tonight because it's the greatest threat they've seen. That's not Trump. So I'm thinking to myself, Trump wouldn't organize that.
No.
They're doing this behind his back before he gets in power. Am I correct?
Well, they have to settle this. They're going to force a land settlement act.
That's to part the land.
That's right, which will change Israel's borders. Right? They're going to do it. They're going to force it. They're going to do it.
I know you've been saying that. And actually, the Bible does say it really is going to happen, even though they're not supposed to do it.
No, it's going to be the worst move. And for a lot of people, Pastor Paul, I guess a lot of people, when we read the whole thing, you see that because the Lord confirms they have parted my land. They have parted the land.
Parted my land.
But that's when the whole world is in trouble, because after they part that land, because Israel will have its endurance moment, but when that land is parted, it says in the Bible that God looked down and he remembered his land and pitied the people. And then he started to do some things he never did before. And everybody who had a finger in parting that land will regret it for an eternity.
Amen.
So
Amen.
that will evoke a big move from God, of a big move of restoration in a supernatural way no human being has ever witnessed before. But right now at this stage, that's precisely what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're changing the borders on purpose. This was a green light on a plan. In my opinion, this was not a good plan. This was not a good plan.
Let me ask.
It's going to cause worldwide repercussions in a very short, almost immediate amount of time.
Okay, so now before this all happened, President Macron went to Saudi Arabia. He sat down there with Mohammed bin Salman, and they agreed that they're going to have a summit next summer to part the land, to create a Palestinian state. Then he flies home, and 3 days later, Assad has been blown out of Syria, and the whole thing's blowing sky high. And you're saying this was done by the NATO group without Trump's approval because he's not in power yet. Biden's even claiming credit for it, and it's all about Israel.
Yeah. Biden is still, that administration is still making or doing things. They're still doing things.
Yes.
And, Trump has not gotten his foot in the that authority role yet. So they're going to do quite a few things. But this, in my opinion, was a bad move. It was a very bad move.
I do too.
It's going to put our soldiers at risk. They're going to have to safeguard the oil now, but the problem with that is they have so many rebels over there right now, and more on tonight. There's some on the way right now. They're going to be some on the way tomorrow. They're going to be some that go there. They're going to keep arriving.
Where are they coming from, Mike?
Everywhere.
Iran.
Everywhere.
Iraq.
Everywhere. Every single group. Right, and we're not talking about good groups. We're talking about these militant groups who cannot stand Israel, who hate the USA. Those are what they're calling rebels. Yeah. The news is spinning it, making it sound like some heroic thing.
I know. That's
right?
That's what concerns me when I see them getting all giddy. I'm like, this ain't good.
Yeah, because didn't the people move out of Damascus a while ago? Most of the civilians were not there, and as of late, they started doing something in the media, propping up, saying, these people want freedom, and they continue with their lives. They were building up a story in people's minds, common programming, to let people know that there are distressed folks over there, and all they want is peace. Well, the truth be told, not more than 3 months ago, they said there are hardly any civilians left in that area. Right?
Yep.
They said this out of their own mouth.
Yep.
Yet they had that advertisement about a week ago, and they began this campaign of showing these people who just want peace. That's all they want. And so that was to empower the rebels or these terrorist groups. The people that are there now, they're on terrorist groups. They're in the terrorist groups that are written down, and Russia knows this.
Yes.
So
it's part of the plan.
When Russia leaves it alone, for a fact it's a dirty move. Something is not right with. They want no parts of it. None.
So are you saying that Russia now made a decision, along with the NATO? NATO made a decision to go after Assad. And Russia made the decision to back out and let him have it, and go ahead and take Assad out of there, maybe if he's alive, and put him in Moscow and give him asylum. But let this, and then let all these militant groups come in from all over the world and start to build up. And the threat on Israel will be worse than it's ever been, worse than Hamas, worse than Hezbollah. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Oh yeah, you better believe. My anchor has to be prophecy. And when prophecy, when it says in the book of Daniel, near the end of chapter 11, it says, and they is speaking about all those who have indignation against the Holy Covenant. All of a sudden, they're under one banner, and they go in and set up the abomination that makes it desolate.
Yeah, you're
They
right.
collectively means the armies, because it says in arms, which are armies. These militant groups will stand on his part, and they will go in and set up the abomination that makes it desolate. That's in Daniel chapter 11. So that being an anchor, we know that military forces are going to get together. And it says all these forces that get together have indignation against the Holy Covenant, against Israel.
Amen.
So they're all going to get together, and they're all going to go against Israel. And the clock starts right then and there. Right then and there.
So that's where we're at. This is really where we're at in prophecy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you see it in real time. To see it in real time is almost unbelievable. All these groups descended and really coalesced right there in Syria. That's almost unbelievable, because they don't necessarily get along with each other.
No, but all of a sudden they're all of a sudden
best buddies.
They're best buddies. ISIS, Al Qaeda, the Al Sham, Syrian rebels, the Mujahideen. All of them are all of a sudden friends together because they have a common goal. Israel. It's a common goal, isn't it?
That's right.
Now they and Turkey's even happy about it.
Oh yeah, because they think they're going to get, they think they're going to be the, head of the caliphate going in there and set everything up. Because they know this is it for them. When Israel is taken, their prophecy clock starts. Right. When Israel is taken.
Amen. Here's a verse for us, and it's in your chapter. You just quoted Daniel 11, verse 27 says, "And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper. For yet the end shall be at the time appointed." So is that happening? They're gathering at the table. They're plotting.
Yeah, I believe that is what it says, because right after that, one of them returns to his own land. He's full of indignation. Is because they forecast devices against him. He's not able to do to take Israel. So he goes back home, and then he gets everybody who has indignation or hatred towards Israel. He goes and gets them together. I believe we're at that phase. I believe that the telling lies at one table, that's politics. Looking back historically at that phrase implies, because politics is a debate to have the other person believe a set of ideologies going forward. So it's nothing proven, just making a person believe, hey, I'm going to do this and do this and do that, right? Well, we all know that only God the Father can complete a promise that anybody makes. It must take him to do that. And that was mentioned in the Old Testament. So having given that statement right there, to tell a lie at one table has to be man making promises on his own.
Amen.
Which is the UN. That's the UN, that's Congress, that's all these different places. So that's politics as usual, but it doesn't quite work out the way people want, the way they want it. And so one goes back home and he gets everybody who hates Israel, he gets them together. And then when he goes back, it's when he gets all that together, it's curtains.
Now,
but yeah, telling lies at one table, I believe that's politics. That's people talking at the UN,
now
people
tomorrow,
talking in other venues.
Tomorrow at the United Nations, Russia has called an emergency Security Council meeting, closed door.
Yep.
Closed door. Yep. It's all about what they're coming to the table. Everybody's coming to the table. A lot of lies are going to be spread that day. Do you think?
Yeah, I do. And that number one, that number one point, that they will, all these militant groups are going to operate under one banner against Israel. But not only them, they're going to operate against us too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we have a problem. We have a bad issue here. And we're going to see part of that Sunni Shia civil war, these clashes back and forth, they're going to spill out over the globe. It's happened in Germany. It's happening in France. It's happening in the UK. It's happening in the Middle East. It's happening in Yemen, in India. It's happening in Russia, right? It's happening there too. It's starting to happen everywhere. And they're actually fighting like ground forces against ground forces. And they're not covering it. For some reason, they won't cover it. Whole cities have been set on fire by these groups fighting like this.
And the media won't cover it because
no,
what they're going to do, I noticed this morning, was they showed about 200 people gathering outside the embassy in UK, in London, waving Syrian flags in joy. And I'm thinking, okay, why don't you go tell us how many women are being raped and how many people are being executed and beheaded right now in Syria, in every city right now that these guys have taken over. There is brutal executions happening right now. This is not a joyous time, as the media is telling us. Am I correct?
That's true.
This is war. This is war. And there's so many factions that are all, they're all wanting to take Assad out and they all want to take Israel out. Yet they really hate each other because they have a different ideology, but at the same time, they're accomplishing the same goal. Lucifer is using these groups against Israel and the United States. They're trying to. Do you believe that is there going to be terrorist activity really pick up here in America in the next couple of years? Do you think?
First of all, I think it's going to happen almost immediately.
We're going to start having,
and I almost immediately, and I see that with pretty high confidence. We're going to have a problem with that. It could be why they're setting up FEMA sites all throughout the USA. Now, these are not just normal FEMA sites. No, these are the FEMA sites that respond to disasters. So they have an expectation of a multitude of disasters coming to this country. They're just not talking about it. Right? They have set up at airports, they have bases. They're actually setting up bases, FEMA bases, not FEMA camps, FEMA bases, right? Like a military base, a FEMA base. That's what they're setting up all throughout the USA.
Well, what is the purpose for those? Is it for refugees, American refugees?
Well, no, in those places. Let me just open up what they're preparing for. Not only terrorism, right?
Okay.
Because hear me out on this. If they go to attack Israel, they will never attack Israel by itself because of us, right? They have to attack us on fire first, right? We have to be somehow detained or they will not succeed.
I see.
Right? So they're going to have to hit both of us at the same time. If they decide to hit us with missiles, they're going to have to hit both of us at the same time if they're serious. And with what's happening in the Middle East, you better believe Iran is going to have access to other nations' nuclear weapons. I give that not more than 4 weeks from now.
Really?
Somewhere in that time frame, they're going to have control of nuclear weapons outside of their own country. Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
are they coming from China? Are they coming from Russia?
No, they're already in the Middle East. Well, for example, what would happen?
Turkey.
Well, you got Turkey, not only them, but you have Turkey, you have Pakistan, you have India, you have all these places, right? They're just sitting over there waiting. If you had militant groups who became, aggressive enough, given the lack of security these places have, they go in there and take it.
Yes, I agree.
That's why we have committed so many soldiers to security operations in the Middle East in a very special way, because we understand how volatile it is and how dangerous that situation is. Right, that's not going to maintain itself. Plus, we have the wild card, which is Russia. Russia, I still have that great is a little trepidation with Russia that, given a certain point, Islamic forces will take control of Russian brigades, Russian batteries, Russian divisions, infantry divisions, and air defense, artillery, and the whole nine. They're going to take control of it. They have too many have come from Syria. Right? And they are in the Russian military right now. They've come from Syria. They were trained in Syria. So we have a lot of Syrians who are part of the Russian military. And we're talking about commanders.
Wow.
Right? As we're talking about commanders on that level. Soldiers too, yes. But a lot of them are rotating in and out from Syria for years. And so I do believe, because do you really think Bashar al-Assad will not do anything about Syria, will not do anything about Damascus? We should all know that that will never take place. If he is alive, he's going to hit back hard. He's going to hit. He has no filter. He has no restraint. He will utilize everything at his disposal to make an indelible mark on all those who had some sort of part in Syria.
So Iran has been working on nuclear weapons and probably has 3 or 4 nukes. I don't know what
they have them.
Okay,
they have them. They were just missing the launch vehicle for a time, but that's solved now. They proved that a few months ago.
Well, the relationship is, like as you've been saying, between Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea. And where is China right now? They're very quiet right now. Is there a reason that they're quiet?
Well, they're just not saying much, but they're making moves every single day. They've increased their force strength near Taiwan. They have more naval ships in the ocean now. They're running very close patrols to our vessels. They're having air sorties, in which case our fighter wings have to back off now. So between us and China, we have a nuclear bomber issue happening. Right? Because they go out with their bombers and we go out with our bombers to see who's gonna turn around first or something like that. So as a consequence of that, we have a standard alert package on our nuclear readiness for aircraft and things. It's been heightened. So they have to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Now, even less time is given than about 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. So we have a lot of patrols, nuclear patrols, happening all the time now, all the time.
And this next 40 days or so left in the Biden administration, do you anticipate major moves by nations? Besides this event that's happened in Syria, there's a vacuum. You said when you first came on that there's this huge vacuum now on who's going to control Syria. I mean, is there a puppet government going to be put in by somebody? And if so, who will put them in?
I think they'll try it. They will try it. But betrayal is going to be the word at the end of the day. In other words, in times past, CIA could set up a puppet government pretty efficiently,
yes,
right?
Yes, yes.
But these days, it takes loyalty to do that, right? We don't have we used to have a lot of threats we could use. Well, people have called our bluff too many times, right? And they have caught up to our tactics. And so now you can't really threaten someone like that these days. We did that with Iran, of course, and cut them totally off, and they prospered even more with all the sanctions and everything. They built twice as much than they did, in their ordinary days. And so we know that these guys are deriving their own money. China is taking up all the financial losses. They've essentially started their own economy without the Western world, right? We can't cut China off. We can't do it.
No.
They want to cut China off so bad, but we're stuck. We can't do that. They found out after they removed the chips, for example, from all the military vehicles that had Chinese chips. Well, they found out that we decided we're going to use chips that are within the Western alliance, so to speak. Well, then we found out that Japanese chips were tainted.
Yeah,
right. Then we found out the chips in India were tainted, and so we still could not get away from the Chinese chips. We couldn't do it.
So we've made a major mistake over a period of 40 or 50 years of slowly transferring our our manufacturing base and our technological base, and we've distributed it all over the world. We've outsourced it.
Yeah,
and now, and this is why Trump keeps preaching America first, because
yes. Well, think about what you just said, Pascal.
Okay.
You just said something that is they should print an article on that alone. When you outsource technology, then you don't have to train your own people to be highly efficient with that type of thing, right? So then we have less manufacturing facilities and less people qualified to manufacture chips. Well, in this case, most of what we had was outsourced.
Yep.
So you don't have those qualified individuals here. They haven't gone through the trials of manufacturing. Intel makes the Intel chip, of course, and you have AMD, but I'll tell you something, they're still lagging behind. China has a chip. Take the Intel, the Intel i9 149K. Take that chip, for example. That's I believe it has 24 cores. It's pretty sturdy chip. And then you take NVIDIA's public side technology, maybe the RTX 490 or something like that. You put all that together, that's a pretty high grade system right there, right? China has put all that in a phone.
What?
In a telephone. Yes. So that's how far behind we are. China put all that in a phone. That's why NVIDIA, they're breaking their neck, making leaps. They have to catch up to these hidden advances of these other countries. That's why China can take an aircraft that they see from us, and in 1 month, they can make a prototype of that same thing, and it flies, and it works, and it's functional. Their hypersonic missiles, of course, they succeeded on that by just back engineering something from Russia. Right, our Raptors, some of the maneuvers that they can do, China has a maneuver that their aircraft can do that nobody in the world can do. Why? Because they're not only utilizing thrust vectoring, but they also have a microwave generator at the forward of their aircraft. So what that means is they can essentially do a front flip over another aircraft and just outmaneuver it in a dogfight.
That's
right?
Not good.
So with when you vector your thrust, you can make up for losses in aerodynamics with some of the newer aircraft. Well, because of their microwave technology, they can do things that are just they just don't seem real. They just don't seem real. It almost looks like their aircraft actually defies gravity, and we're coming down to a point where everybody's bluff is going to be called, because once this war starts, we're going to find out who's truly advanced and who is not. That's what we're going to find out.
Okay, let's talk about this, Mike. What war are you referring to? World War
the one
III?
that continues to build. Yeah. Okay. It's continuing to build. I don't believe World War III is going to start. I honestly believe it's already begun. It's kind of like World War II. There were certain nations that denied World War II was truly a world war until it came to their front door. It's just like folks in America and folks in the UK. We don't believe, a lot of people don't believe we're further in the prophecy than we think. But when it comes to our front doors, we're going to know where we are in prophecy, right?
Yep.
Because it will be overwhelming. It's not going to slowly gravitate towards something. It's going to be overwhelming for people to understand what position they're in. Like the heavens, right? Nobody's talking about the heavens right now, save for two penetrating objects that came through and, and did an aerial glow, right?
Yes.
But and no one's talking about the heavens. No one. They're going to start talking about the heavens the end of this week. You watch and see, because it's also waking up. And they don't report on anything until they can expect something that the people can see. They know people are nervous. They're trying to keep this calm demeanor in folks right now, right? They want everybody to be just docile, relaxed,
right,
not on guard, not watching. Unfortunately, that's going to be broken. That's not the right strategy right now.
No. And I think what's happened here, as you know, we just had a meteorite hit, or an asteroid hit Siberia this past week, small one. But that's just one they reported on. I mean, you've been reporting now for several years, at least 3 to 4 years, that it's happening. It's happening every month. I mean, we're getting 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and however many impacts are actually happening. They might be out in the middle of the ocean. They might be somewhere else, but they're hitting everywhere, and
people are dying. They're dying by these things,
and that's not being reported, Mike. That is not.
No, they're not. They won't do it, and it's just unfortunate because Pastor Paul, when it gets to a certain level, right, when everybody has a problem with these things, then what?
Then
it's kind of like it's kind of like the insurance companies. When people, after these storms this year, they said, "Hey, I need, insurance from weather on my home." And they said, "Well, you can't get that. You have to go to FEMA."
Right.
We don't offer it anymore. And you know what? I did echo that they're going to go broke. These insurance companies are going to go broke because these storms are not slowing down.
Yeah, you did.
Right?
You did.
And in these FEMA bases, do you know what's in there?
No. Tell me what's in these FEMA.
You know what they're stocking up on? Tornado shelters.
So you're saying they're building FEMA bases for not everywhere, not FEMA camps, FEMA bases.
FEMA bases, yes.
Because of war, because of tornadoes and hurricanes and war.
Yeah. Because in them you see these red. They're red. They're tornado shelters. Tornado shelters are what they are, and they have these stacked up all over the place. You remember the coffins everybody used to talk about?
Yeah, oh yeah.
They still have those, but they store them in different ways so people can't really see them. But now they have tornado shelters where they can rapidly deploy these things. Fairly quickly.
You mean
they also have some?
Are you talking about tornado shelters that could be just sent out everywhere and people can go inside them to protect?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Go ahead.
That's right.
Go ahead.
So if it lifts a thing off the ground or something like that, it's constructed in a special way where it can either allow the wind to pass over it like an airfoil without the giving it lift, or if they do happen to go up in it, right, you can it actually has something like like an emergency boat type deal where you pull something, it fills up full of air, so it kind of cushions your impact to things. But they're putting these all over the place because they understand what's going to happen. Besides war, right? We're going to have another war, which is the war to stay alive during all this extreme weather. We're going to have a lot more extreme weather, a lot more. Oh, and vegetation is growing in the North Pole because recent imagery from the North Pole, they will not. In fact, if you look at any map of the North Pole, it's a lie. It's one of the biggest lies you could ever see. And no, I'm not referring to an ice wall. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to something totally different. It's warming up so fast. I mean, incredibly fast. It's just warming up, right? It's very surprising. It's kind of like when you find out, when you start to learn that certain rich folks have islands in Antarctica, right? It's that kind of shocking, right?
Yeah, they just in Antarctica. There's islands.
Yeah, somebody has a place is named after a very rich person. Anyway, but that's a different story. That's a different story. That's another can. That's a can of worms.
That is.
I will say, pray for the people around Trump. Pray for the people around Trump, because Pastor Paul, there are some serpents around him, and they're good. Oh, they're so good, but they are serpents.
Is this why? So these people that Trump is picking now for his
candidate, oh boy,
my God, I've never seen such hatred going after some of these folks. And Pete Hegseth is really, I mean, they went after this guy. He must be really a powerful guy. He must be somebody that's going to really shake up the military.
He's one of those guys, right? He lives his life, but when he will follow things to the letter.
Yeah.
That's why they don't want, he will not bend. He won't, if a regulation states that a person has to undergo, something after doing something else, he's going to stick with the regulation. He's a fair guy. He is, right?
Yeah.
But he's not going to bend. You're not going to buy him. And that's the problem they have with him.
He's loyal too, isn't he?
He can't be bought.
He can't be bought.
He can't be bought. Everybody has issues and problems,
right?
But this guy cannot be bought. He will not bend. He won't break. He won't do any of that. Once he goes forward, he's going forward. He's not going to deviate. And so they're going to raise up the fact that he's a soldier with lots of drinking involved, and this, that, and the other. Well, that who doesn't have flaws like that?
Right. I mean,
but in his professional, he's a professional leader, but it can't be bought. And that's an issue when it comes to people confirming him, because they know they want people to bend to this and to bend to that. And, they like to sweet talk politicians.
So you're saying he is going to be 100% loyal to Donald Trump and to the United States of America.
He will.
Yep.
He will.
I like him.
Most certainly will.
I like him already. All right, because we've had a lot of guys that are loyal to themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they try to survive, and he has a track record of to his own hurt. To his own hurt, he will stick with regulations.
Yeah.
He will.
Okay.
To his own hurt.
To his own hurt.
He will.
Okay. Now there's others, that what about Kash Patel that Trump's picking to be the head of the FBI? I mean, isn't he going to be up against it when you go to try to revamp that situation?
Once they pull his jacket, right? He surprisingly, he may not have as much resistance as you would think. He may not.
Okay.
He may not, because sometimes when they pull your credentials, you can be of a certain archetype, but if your record, your decision making and the records and what you've done in your records is somewhat flawless, they really can't do anything, right? He will execute whatever he needs to, as efficiently as possible.
So, and do you think Tulsi Gabbard's going to get through as well?
She's problematic. I say that because she brings up too much of the past, right? Too many direct accusations that will drudge up a bunch of stuff, and people are going to lose they can't separate the two, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like if she gets in there, the Russia hoax is going to come up. All these other things are going to come up, and people don't want to rehash that. They're trying to move forward. They want nothing to do with that. But her, how she involved herself with other countries is going to bring all that back up again. And people, they're so sick of that so much. They'll say, well, just go pick somebody else, so we don't have to discuss that.
Got it. And one more, and we don't want to talk about the get too far into medical because we can't, but Robert Kennedy Jr., do you see him, how do you see his role? How do you see, does he make it? Does he even make it?
He probably will.
Will he do good, or will he stir up too much stuff, or will he be an irritant?
No, he's quite serious about the health of people, take care of people. He's quite serious. He speaks his ideas, and a lot of people have not separated the two, right? Of course, they're going to make him sound like he's one flew off the cuckoo's nest or something. but he's actually, if you really listen to him, his ideas are this: let parents choose.
Amen. I like that.
To implement certain options. That's his. He's saying he's not going to take it away. It needs to be the parents' choice.
That's right. That's right.
It cannot be a government choice, because that's like communism.
Yep.
having a big line, just everybody has to go down and take their shot. That we were slowly creeping towards a socialistic state anyway, doing all this stuff. So he says, put that decision back with the parents. And because somebody said, well, what if it becomes a problem in the schools? He said, well, we'll handle it. We'll inform the parents of what they need to do and give them the options to do so and so. But they're not going to force someone to take any vaccination, right? That you can't force anybody. It'd be like back in the day, if you just go to somebody's house and say, eat these roots. You can't do that, right? Not if you're in a free society. Well, it's the same thing, because some people have strong reservations about vaccines, right? And some people have do you know vaccines can hurt certain people with certain types of genetics? So where we'll do nothing to one person, it can absolutely
Mike, is your microphone microphone?
Yeah, it's here. Can you hear me?
You're very low. I can barely.
Is it low?
Hang on a second.
Oh boy.
Hang
on.
on.
Wrong subject.
Maybe. Wait. Yeah, maybe the wrong subject, because I still barely can hear you, but I can't.
Really?
Yeah.
What about still messed up now?
Yeah. Hang on a second. I'm pushing every button here, seeing if there's anything, but I can't. Nothing's working.
All right, let's just reset my signal.
Let's see. Are you still there?
Yeah, I just reset my signal.
Okay, you're coming in loud now.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's back.
I think that was me.
Okay, no problem. No. Well, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave that alone. Okay, so basically, the back to Syria here, because I think that's the main thing here.
Yeah,
it's not just Syria, but it's the whole world. Syria is like this Damascus. It's in the Bible. The destruction of Damascus is actually a prophecy. I'm hoping and praying that ain't what's going to happen, but it's all about Israel. But Damascus, Syria's sitting right next door. You got the Golan Heights. We know what it says about Ezekiel 38 war, that people are going to come over to, and attack.
Yeah.
Is this so? If this is where we're at, we're really in these end times, aren't we, Mike?
We are. Well, there are too many things happening at one time. There are too many things happening at one time, and my goodness,
the 14th of December. I'm glad somebody just put it in there in the chat room.
Babylon's hour.
Babylon's hour. Okay, is this what's going on now? Is this part of the Babylon hour?
Pastor, I'll tell you something. The whole Babylon thing, right?
Yeah.
The whole Babylon. It began some weeks ago. It's not left my spirit. It's not going anywhere. Yeah. I mean, if you what would you do? What would you do if you were just minding your business and all of a sudden, you're working on something and your mind goes right to Babylon on fire, right?
Yeah.
And then, you say, I'm just leave that alone. You're not thinking about Babylon or anything else. Then you happen to go to sleep, and you're woke up from that sleep with somebody yelling in your ear, Babylon, right? What would you do? And then it starts to plague you, right? And you start to see the formation of, for example, in Babylon, Babylon had in that last kingdom of Babylon, right? Because the statue in Daniel is absolutely one of those dead giveaways. But the feet of that statue are current, and it calls these kingdoms. And then in those kingdoms, the last kingdom that will be upon the earth, which is a collection of kingdoms, it said it would be partly strong, partly broken, right? Or partly weak.
Right.
In the world today, we have strong nations. We have weak nations, right?
Yes.
And it also named specifically, it told us, because the feet match the beast.
Yes.
The feet of that statue matches the beast. But it says this one specific thing, that when this power rises, that power is not going to go anywhere until the Ancient of Days comes.
Amen.
And so that means nobody can stop it. Nobody can alter it. It will have power until God returns to undo it. And this little horn, of whom 3 kings fell, right?
Yep.
Why is it that out of these nations that came about from the breakup of Rome, why is it that 3 of those nations went extinct?
Well,
Of all that could have happened, three nations went
went
extinct.
extinct. They
Went
completely
extinct
dissolved.
because I looked at you look at the toes, and this is I'm talking historically here.
Yeah.
When the nations began to divide out of wars, because Rome was the last great kingdom that was undone, so to speak, right?
Yep.
I know a lot of people think Rome still exists today. Well, the name of it does, but that Roman
But
kingdom back then,
not the Roman Empire.
right? Roman Empire, it was separated, right?
Yes.
And it was separated into these zones. Now, all the nations we have today are part of that Roman Empire, because Rome did not take away the identity of the place it conquered. That's why the Jews still had power, right? They didn't take away any of the nation's identity. They didn't do that. They incorporated every nation into Rome, is what they did.
Yes.
So today we have nations that represent these 10 toes, so to speak. And why is it that in this day that we live in now, where we have technology, where everybody can analyze everything? Because if somebody says something, somebody can go back and look at it and see if it's real or not, whatever the case is. But right now we're in a witness phase where we can see the ideologies of this ancient Roman Empire in operation today. Because Rome absorbed, or they made a nation inclusive into Rome.
Yeah,
they didn't change its identity.
They didn't conquer. Right. Well, they were in control of them, but they didn't change their identity. They allowed each nation or each kingdom to be their kingdom under Rome's authority.
That's right.
Yes,
that's right. Isn't that same thing happening today, though? The same exact thing is happening today. And now, through this disruption in the Middle East, some very ancient ideologies like Hannibal, these guys, how they used to operate, all this is starting to come back through Israel's issues. All of it's clearly seen. But this kingdom that we live in today, everything in the book of Daniel, it says, was part of this kingdom, is in operation today. My goodness. And I had to go back historically to break some things down. Like, I give you another example, but I can't tell it yet, okay? But I will in a couple days. But the bear. Yes. You know how the bear is synonymous with Russia?
Right.
I found something about the bear, and I found something about the teeth and what was in the teeth and why it was in the teeth.
It said it had
because
ribs.
It was told, and it was lopsided. One side, it was lopsided, right?
Are you saying the bear was lopsided?
The bear was lopsided, right? He said he'd get up and devour much flesh. Remember that? He had 3 ribs in his teeth. He had iron teeth, strong teeth, right? So I was looking at the statues, the representations, and what nations were known as what? Like the Bronze Age, like the Age of Silver, Iron Age, things like that. So you're looking at characteristics that carry over to these animals. And then when you go back historically and start looking at what the national symbol was for each of these nations, that's when your eyeballs kind of open up. Like, we're in the middle of something, aren't we? So this conquest issue that we've been having, Daniel's absolutely a blueprint for what's happening right now today. Yep. What Daniel did not understand, we're right in the middle of right now today. And just as it says in the book of Daniel, people were so easily beguiled because they couldn't see. They were in denial of these times. But Babylon itself, a proclamation is over Babylon, right? That's not going to fail. Babylon exists until the Ancient of Days comes, and then it will not exist. But right when the Ancient of Days is coming, Babylon gets burnt up, right? Her judgment comes.
Yeah.
Her judgment does not come at the beginning.
No,
it didn't come at the beginning. It didn't come in the middle. It comes at the end. And so now we see these nations in disarray, nations in distress with perplexities, right? That's what we're starting to see. They have no idea how to fix things. I mean, it's falling apart. They can prop it up all they want to. France is starting to fall apart.
Yes.
The UK is falling apart. All these nations are falling apart.
South Korea.
Yeah, they're falling apart. And the people have collectively rebelled against their leaders.
Yeah.
And that's almost like a direct quote from Isaiah, from Joel, from Daniel, all these guys who were talking about these end days. So this kingdom, partly strong and partly broken. Part of it's fallen apart, but though it has strength in it, it's weakened by those weakened portions. It's absolutely prophecy. And once you understand that they all don't go away overnight, right?
It's a process.
And that there's 1,000 years erased out of our current history. When you start learning that fact, now that's a bomb dropper, then that puts many things in perspective. But America within itself, my question is, will America survive? Because I'll tell you something. Trump was elected, yes. In my opinion, there's too much time that's passing between his election and his inauguration.
Oh, man.
And the reason I say that is because people were enthusiastic and very focused as to why they elected him.
Yes.
Right? But we fall prey to propaganda so much,
So
you know,
fast.
and I know
Oh, yes.
that people are going to start flipping left and right. And some of those flips are now starting to cause momentum. Right?
Yeah, it's already happening.
And
It's
people are
already
saying,
happening.
you know, I shouldn't have voted for him. They're doing it already.
He's
They're doing
not
it already.
in office. He's not
Right,
even in
right.
But you're right. They're already, because they're listening to the propaganda. They're listening.
That's right.
To the
Which
lies.
won't shut up. It
No.
won't shut up. It's not going to shut up. And people are believing, they would rather believe the fairy tale. They truly have abandoned, you know, sound doctrine.
Yes.
And they have gone to something that tickles their ears, something
Yes.
that, you know, some weird thing. These are the days we live in. Now, when he gets inaugurated, how are we going to look? Because you know and I know there's some desperate people. I mean, they're desperate now. They say that if Trump completes the inauguration, the world is over. This is in their minds. We're not talking about a couple hundred people either. We're talking about millions of
I
people
know.
are saying this,
I know.
Pastor Paul,
I know.
that if he completes the inauguration, the world is over.
Yeah.
They're convinced that this stuff that's happening in the world is because of him. Right? They're convinced of this.
It's just
Right?
they're looking at, you know how we always look at normally when president goes in the United States, there's the first 100 days, and you look to see what all that new government's going to accomplish. This is so different. We're in a 77-day period from an election day to inauguration day. This is the most unbelievable 77-day period in the history of the world on before a president even takes office.
Yep.
The world, and I mean the world reaction, that what we're witnessing right now, even in Syria and the ramification of this globally, we've never seen anything like this. And so to your point, millions and millions of people believe that Trump arriving at the White House is the end of days, that it's the end of democracy, at which we're a republic, or they think it's over, that their freedoms are over, that there's, they've got all this preconceived propaganda jammed into their head that they've heard in the media, and it's crazy.
And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try and stop him from getting to the inauguration.
Yes, they are.
See, and that's just, this is where we are right now.
It's a dangerous
now
time.
we both know that if the USA somehow, and nobody should ever say it's not going to happen. People are they're getting together already. That if this takes place, this can cause that one moment where we are severely distracted enough for other nations to take full advantage of the Middle Eastern upset that has just happened. But the time we're not paying attention or can't pay attention to the Middle East, I'm telling you now, they're going to act. Iran right now is looking for a window to get us. Russia is looking for a window to get us, right?
Yes.
These nations are looking for their opportunity to strike us, just like a serpent. They already see us. They're just ready to strike, and they need the right opportunity. And if we go weak at it, because in prophecy, nobody halted Israel from being trampled underfoot 40 and 2 months. Nobody halted that. And if nobody halted that, what in the world happened to the USA that we were not able for 3.5 years? We could not liberate Israel for 3.5 years. That's in prophecy.
I know
So
it is.
what in the world has happened to us? I just believe we're in those moments. We're in those times, right?
Yes.
I do believe that God can he can stave things off. In other words, he already said he's not slack by our calendar, but he allows time. He desires that all come to repentance. But I see something happening right now where many people, they know of Christ, but those many people just want nothing to do with him.
That's so true.
And now you have these groups, like these folks that are under the satanic worshipers, by the way, who have grown to every state now. Do you know
That's
that? There's
terrible.
there are multiple satanic operations in every state. In every state.
It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. The occult practices and it's
Yeah.
a spirit that is, and the practices only increases that demonic power. The more people practice it, the more people worship Lucifer, the more they blood sacrifice or whatever type of occultic ceremonies they do, it only increases the evil.
They're operating in the places that are absent the truth. You know, where the truth is not, here they are, you know, getting people up, but they have a plan, is what I'm saying. They have an agenda, they have a plan. And these guys have a lot of money. They have a lot of money.
Yes,
right?
they do.
So they can do, you know, they can do exactly what they have, because they cannot help but to be prideful and tell people what they're going to do. And by their own mouth, 2025 is the beginning of the new dawn for them. So what is that to us?
Is that the new?
They've already declared 2025 for themselves. They've already claimed it. They said it's their year. It's their year.
Hour of Aquarium or something. They're the year of a new dimensional move, a new age. Okay, a new age. Well, Mike, I think tonight you really blew the doors off. You think Assad's alive?
Well, there was some movement to Russia the other day, so he possibly could be. I do also know that there was a tip that this was going to happen.
Yes.
So here's a better question. Why would they warn Assad of what they're about to do? Like they want this guy alive, right?
Yes.
Like they want this guy around. So I believe what we're seeing is the beginning of a much larger operation that ultimately will give Israel no choice but to come to the table and surrender certain things. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's what's, I can't, that's slowly coming, but it's coming. It's coming.
Well, Mike, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the 7th chapter of Daniel, since you've been talking about it. I think I'll just read it here in a moment and listen to the words of it, because Daniel saw and what was going to happen in the end with the Ancient of Days' arrival and the kingdoms, and that this everlasting kingdom would survive forever. And then but he was told to seal that up. And then you have John, who then gets it again and sees it again. And then now we're witnessing it. We're living in it. Now we should probably look at what it says. And I appreciate you bringing it out tonight, because it is the time we're living in. It's this thing that's happened in the Middle East. It was all part of everything we've been witnessing, the attack of Hamas, but actually, Russia invading Ukraine, and then Hamas invading Israel, and then Hezbollah firing the rockets, and then the Iranians and the Russians and everybody else, and then now the Syria. This is really all part, and we can take this all the way back to the Arab Spring, when Obama and Hillary started destabilizing the Middle East and the migration was going on, and then our southern border. Really, isn't all of that just part of the same spiritual movement of a new world order, to build so much chaos that that the world will be crying for a leader, for somebody to rule the world?
Oh boy, Pastor, they're doing it now.
I know.
They're doing it right now. They're doing it now. Right now.
Right now.
They're doing it now.
Yep.
My goodness, we're here. But yeah, I agree with you.
Well, we'll talk about it more certainly Thursday night, if we don't have to do it before then. things are happening fast now. So
They are.
thank you for taking the time out to come on a Sunday night. I appreciate it. Really, I really do. We all do.
Fastball, God bless you. It's always an honor. Always.
The honor's mine, Mike. Appreciate it. I really do. God bless my brother.
All right. God bless.